Huh? When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die.
Or you sail to Essos and get a new name and
run off with your boyfriend.
Hide. It's on a shirt.
It says it right there.
Okay, pause it. Thank you. All right, here we go. Mr. George R.R. Martin has been brought into the news, and I know what you're thinking, which you're probably not thinking that because no one's thinking it. It's not about Winds of Winter. There's nothing about the book being written. It's not an update on that. We are not getting that, so hold your horses, everybody. George is still on the chopping block for that. But he has confirmed that 10,000 Ships, a spinoff of Game of Thrones, is officially in development for the pilot episode. So we had talks of this for a while. It's been one of the many spinoffs that got thrown out there last year. So Jon Snow was one of them. That's been shelved. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is happening. But there were a few others that were shelved as well. But we hadn't really heard anything about this one. And George R.R. came out and confirmed it. So they are working on this show. It follows Princess Nymeria. And it's about 1,000 years before the events of Game of Thrones. So it tells the story of warrior queen Princess Nymeria, the founder of the Kingdom of Dorne, and the surviving Rhoynars who travel from Essos to Dorne following their defeat by Valyrian and their dragons. So this is pretty dope, and George was talking about it, and he says that it'll be under a new writer, Ebony Booth, who apparently won a Pulitzer Prize in May for her play Primary Trust. And George says she's an amazingly talented young playwright, a joy to work with, and pretty much had nothing but good things to say about her who has taken on this project. So I'm stoked. We've had one spinoff of Game of Thrones, which is why we're here, and it's been great so far. So if you keep the quality of these shows and you give us the founding of Dorne, and there's dragons, I think there's massive like war turtles. Like, there's crazy stuff that goes into this story that's super interesting, could be really epic. So I'm stoked on this.
Yeah, and it'll be cool to get a show that's not centered around the Iron Throne. So this will be off in Dorne in the desert. And in House of the Dragon, Dorne isn't still technically a part of the Seven Kingdoms. So I'm surprised they still say Lord of the Seven Kingdoms when Dorne, one of the kingdom, is still kind of doing their own thing. They're, off on their own. Yeah, so that's interesting. I like that. And Arya's wolf is, of course, named after this Nymeria, right?
Yep. There you go. And that's why she sailed west at the end of the fantastically written season 8. She had to follow her girl Nymeria.
Yeah. I was going to open up with the same thing. Love said he's glad to get out of the Iron Throne. I was just going to say I'm glad it's not something like one of those Jon Snow spinoffs. I think so. We're all glad that it's something different, a very different flavor from what we're used to. So. And it got the fact that it got canceled, now it's getting brought back. That's interesting, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it was ever officially canceled. It fell off the map. We just never heard anything about it. So I kind of assumed they were all canceled, especially when we started getting news of Jon Snow being shelved officially. Yeah, so it was like, okay, so they're probably not doing this stuff. But I mean, it's cool, and it's kind of like the story is almost like the biblical deal with Moses almost. Like, her country just gets torn up by all the dragons, and so she has to take this fleet and find a new home, which is future Dorne. They establish themselves at Dorne, but it's just crazy. It gets compared to, like, the Odyssey and other epics like that, so this could be a super cool show.
Sounds sick.
And I don't know if there's any reading material behind it. Like, obviously, House of the Dragon, we have Fire and Blood. There's a lot of extra literature out there as far as Game of Thrones goes.
Well,
but yeah, this is pretty untouched. I think they might have touched on it in
the history book, World of Ice and Fire.
A World of Ice and Fire, there you go. And I think I read that one, too.
Yeah, dude, we were so hardcore into those books. I read
many audiobooks.
I listened to the freaking history book. It was so boring.
Yeah.
What about the Night of the Seven Kingdoms? Did either of you read that?
Oh yeah, that's an amazing book.
That's the one I'm going to read next. That's what I heard, because it's more of a story. It's not like a Maester's description of events. It's a story.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah, I got to get that.
It's Aegon the Fifth, Aegon the Unlikely, and then his trainer. He's kind of training him to be a knight, kind of, and it's Sir Duncan the Tall, who is a member of the King's Guard in the future.
Yeah. Which Aegon is in the green, the king right now?
Aegon
The
the second.
Second,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So this one is the brother of Master Aemon that we see in Game of Thrones, the Night's Watch
Yeah.
guy. It's his brother that we're following in A Night of the Seven
That's
Kingdoms.
Wait, that's the Aemon with the eye patch?
No.
Maester Aemon.
Maester Aemon from Game of Thrones, the old dude at the night. No,
what I
it's a
remember.
totally different guy. But his brother is the Aegon that the Night of the Seven Kingdoms is about. It's about his little brother.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's a really good story. I would definitely recommend it.
I might literally order it on this episode right now live.
There you go. Well, speaking of which, you've been reading anything interesting?
Yeah, so short answer is Spider-Man and Batman, right? And it's tough to get some new stuff. I mean, I've read all the Spider-Man and Batman, but I wait for the trade paperbacks to come out, which is a few months after they come out in single magazine form. So I am late to the party, but it's Miles Morales specifically, and it's been freaking awesome, dude. Like the only few Miles Morales comics I've read I didn't love. And it was apparently, now that I know, it's in the middle of this long run, starting with his origin in the Ultimate Universe all the way up to where he's at in the 616 now. The stuff I read when he just came into the 616 was always, just okay. Didn't love it. But I finally started at the origin, and it's fantastic. It's like some of the best Spider-Man I've read. Then I go and I skip over to like one of the later issues that just came out with the writer is, his name is Ahmed or something like that. Literally it's probably a top 5 Spider-Man comic. It's
Really?
It's called Streets of Brooklyn or something like that. The first 10 issues of this guy Ahmed's Miles Morales run is fantastic. But yeah, I guess I was just poking around at the wrong comic. So Miles is solid, and then the Batman, it's the Detective Comics in Rebirth, and it's so good, dude. He puts together all the team with like spoiler, Batwoman, Tim Drake's his Robin, and Tim Drake is a super badass in this one. So it's been a lot of fun there. That's a great series. But then Failsafe is like the brand just released on trade paperback, and it's kind of Batman's Ultron. So I'm really excited to get into that. It's highly recommended. It's written by Chip Zdarsky, who wrote one of the best Daredevil series. So yeah, a lot of good reading lately.
Nice. Okay. Beautiful. I
dope.
gotta get back from the comics there. I've been reading Dune, which is really picking up. I finally started reading that. We went out to Mammoth and camped out there last weekend, and I was reading Dune every morning at the fire. And nothing better, waking up camping, starting a fire, getting some coffee or something, just sitting there and reading a good book. But yeah,
Literally the best.
Dune's heating up, so that's pretty solid.
I can't wait for you to finish that so we can cover it.
I know. We got to get a
gotta
little
hurry up.
comparison going. But you been reading or watching anything, Lub?
Well, as you know, I don't know how to read, so I have been watching something. And that's the Apple series Dark Matter. And this is obviously based off a book.
Okay.
The one with Joel Edgerton and Jennifer Connelly.
Oh,
And-
okay.
Dude.
JD, heard about this?
No, I've read this book twice. I love this book. It's one of my favorite books.
wow.
Really? Yeah. My wife has read
Absolutely.
this book, and she loves it too.
No, I have a great story.
What?
I've read the book in interesting places. My first place I read this book was in Germany when I was on trains going from Berlin to wherever we were staying, and I finished the book on a train. So good, dude. And then the second time I read it was in boot camp when we were quarantined for an extra 2 weeks because of COVID. That was luckily in this big old bins of books that was in there, and I immediately picked it up and read it. Loved it the second time too. It's just so good.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, there's still 2 episodes left, so don't
So
say
I'm
anything.
super curious about the show. How's it been so far? And have you read the book?
No, I have. My wife has read the book. I haven't. Can't read.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
I forgot.
But basically, this all happens in the first episode, so I'm not really spoiling anything. But basically, Joel Edgerton meets up with an old friend, gets drunk, and then wakes up in a different reality the next morning. And in that version of himself, created the multiverse and like switched places with him. So you find out that like a different version of him switched places with him.
Dude.
And
But,
in this universe, it doesn't. And basically, every possible outcome of every event creates a new universe or a world that runs parallel to our own. And there's like this box they go into that you can like kind of. It's wild, but it's like when it comes to multiverse and Marvel, like this is just so creative and so like out of this world. It's
so
solid.
weird.
in the book, that's a huge spoiler because you don't find out until like the end of the book, maybe the middle, but like way
No,
later.
it's like the first episode. Yeah.
Well, he's saying in the book.
I did hear that.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, but
So
that's fine.
that different in the book and the show? That's
Well,
wild.
I'm guessing that it's such an obvious spoiler. They just went with it from the beginning, and they're telling a story not based on the mystery
visual.
of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's visual too. That's right, because when he gets attacked in the book, in the first chapter, you can't see his face or anything.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
That's a good point. That's weird.
But it has,
yeah.
the romance
yeah,
there is solid. It's like one of the few romances that works for me in books. Like him getting back to his wife and that emotional tie is so engaging.
No, you're right, because Sean, my wife was saying that there's perspectives from different universes that you don't get in the book. Like in the book, it's just him, like the main guy, right? And then in the show, you get more of a broad spectrum of what's going on in the show.
Interesting.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
That's so odd because Netflix has a show called Dark, just Dark, and it's about a guy who stumbles into a portal that takes him into a different, or I think that one's actually back in time. I don't think it's a different universe, but it sounds somewhat similar because he does it on accident. I actually got to finish the second season of that. It's in German, so if you don't mind subtitles. But dude, season 1 was amazing. I was so hooked. It was like holy crap. But I didn't get to season 2 yet.
Dude, the concept is so sick. Like, so he creates the box that can allow you to access the quantum realm, but you still can't because there's something in your brain that inhibits you from perceiving the quantum realm. So in one universe, he created the box, got the Nobel Prize. In another universe, his friend got the Nobel Prize for creating the drug you have to take before you walk into the box. So that shuts off that thing in your brain. Then you walk into the box, and all of a sudden, you're in the quantum realm. Boom. And
it's
like
crazy,
millions of
dude.
like doors or openings. It's like millions of hallways of millions of doors that you could just walk through one and you're in a different reality. And they go through like a few of them in the book. It's so wild.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
I have Apple Plus and I have yet to start a single show on. I've had it for like 3 months. Haven't started a single thing. So
dude,
I'll
Severance,
probably
come
jump
on,
into that.
bro.
I know. I've heard about Severance. Godzilla. Oh,
Didn't you
yeah,
watch
I
that on
streamed-
Apple Plus?
Yeah, I streamed it before I had an account.
Whoa,
Yeah, whatever.
He was
I
kidding.
ain't gonna say
He's
the
kidding.
website. It was
I guess
fully
light spoiler
funded.
alert for anyone out there if they haven't seen Dark Matter yet.
Oh well, yeah. It's all
You
right,
did the
it'll be
big
okay.
book twist though, but they did too in the episode 1, I guess.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's what we've been reading and watching. We got a new series coming out on HBO. Good things are happening. Let's get into a little bit of House of the Dragon. All right. Welcome in to another episode of Why So Sidious, a nerd podcast. I'm your host, David Cochran, and here with me tonight are my co-hosts, Jeremy Darr and Caleb Culver. And tonight, we are back in the land of Westeros and the Seven Kingdoms, and boy, did we miss it. After the controversial reception of The Acolyte and the exhausting division in the fandom, it's a massive relief to come to an IP that is just without a doubt top-of-the-line quality. Like, there's no arguing going on. Everybody's just like, it's back. We're back. But before we dive into that, excuse me, be sure to follow us on our socials at Why So Sidious Pod. You can follow us on Instagram, X, and TikTok, where we have just broken 5,000 followers. So shout out to the new followers over there. That's pretty exciting. Shout out to JD for holding it down on the TikTok. And shout out to the guy who owns TikTok for selling it within the next year so that the app doesn't crash and we don't lose all the progress we have made on it. Shout out to you, because I know
What
you're
a
going to
great
sell
guy.
it, right? Yeah,
Wow.
he's definitely selling.
Humble.
Absolutely selling. Check out some of our recent episodes. We've been covering The Acolyte, our most recent episode, Acolyte Episode 3, with our special guest, longtime fan, Cody. We have our review of the Old Man Logan run. And, of course, we always have our Weekend Geeks coming out and more. So let's just get into it. Let's get into the first episode of the second season of The House of the Dragon on Max. Just kick it off with a quick recap. Episode kicks off with Jacaerys visiting Winterfell and the Wall in hopes of bringing the North to their side, as Cregan Stark explains why the Wall is so important. Right before Jace gets some unfortunate news. We then see that Rhaenyra has been searching for Luke's body for weeks, as Rhaenys explains to Daemon why she needs her time to grieve. Rhaenyra finds proof of Luke's death in a dragon wing and his cloak, and after having to accept it and breaking down, she wants one thing: and that's the head of Aemon Targaryen. Daemon begins his plotting. Back at King's Landing, Helena drops more prophetic lines as Aegon runs the small council with an air of carelessness as the small council tries to keep him focused. Kristen is busy eating out and sleeping with Alicent, while also plotting with Aemon on the side about how to win the coming war between dragons. Larys Strong is whispering in the ear of Aegon regarding a new hand, and Alicent and Otto finally put aside their differences to try and achieve their common goal, a peaceful resolution and Aegon on the throne. The episode wraps up with Daemon's orders to two men named Blood and Cheese, as we get a toned-down version of the infamous event of Blood and Cheese from the book Fire and Blood. A son for a son is achieved, but not exactly in the way that Rhaenyra and Daemon hoped. What will happen next? People probably won't be happy. So that was the first episode. It was, again, like I said, it was just great to come back to this, man. It's just such a quality show, from the acting to the writing to the costume design. Dude, I don't know if it was just... Like, I'm not trying to fire needless shots, but I don't know if it was coming off the Acolyte or if it's just if they were really on their game. But the costume design in this episode was just beautiful, man. Everything was just incredible. It was just top of the line, like the best of the best coming out of Game of Thrones when it comes to the costume design, set pieces. I just thought it was nice. It was just really nice coming back to this world and getting back into this show. So,
right,
Oh, sorry, yeah.
And even I don't know if you're just going to mention this, but in the intro,
yep.
So this wasn't this in season 1, right? It's always been the map that they've shown.
No, so season 1 started off with following like the tree of Targaryen with the blood soaking up into each crown and almost like telling the deaths of each crown as it passed the lineage to the next successor. But dude, yeah, I heard that they had a new one coming in. I thought they'd use a different song, but I'm glad they're using the OG Game of Thrones. Just keep it. That intro theme song is never going to be beat, so you might as well keep it. But dude, I loved the intro. It was insanely detailed. Obviously, we're getting like this hand sewn images that are being put out throughout the scene. Yeah, tapestry. And I loved watching it because I was trying to figure out what it was from the jump. I was like, all right, so what are they doing here? What's the pattern? And I couldn't really tell at first, and then I started picking up, it's the history of the Targaryens. And then we saw Aegon and his sister wives on the dragons. I was like, yep, okay. History of the Targaryens. All the way up till Aemon. I believe it showed Aemon and Vhagar killing Luke. I think that was like one of the last things that was shown on there. So I just thought it was beautiful. Super well done. Just really creative, cool little opener. So I'll probably watch it a few times.
Right. I love that too.
Let's get into Winterfell, man. This was cool. This is a cool way to start the season. We go to Winterfell. We're getting the Stark score, the theme song of the Starks that we've heard so many times in Game of Thrones, which really brings you back. It's a depressing, heavy violin type song. It kind of makes you want to kill yourself, but in a good way, if it makes any sense. But I love it. It just sets the tone, and it's overplayed by Cregan Stark's monologue regarding the North, the Wall, and the purpose of it, and how it's an honor to go serve at the Watch, as we saw Jon Snow do at the start of Game of Thrones. So I love this whole scene. They get up under the wall, and Jacaerys is like, you guys are guarding the land from weather and wildlings while Aegon is usurping the throne. The High Towers are taking over the throne. And he goes, do you think my ancestors built a 700-foot wall to keep out weather and wildlings? Like, well, what is it keeping out? He says, death. And it's like, this is sick because we didn't get this in Fire and Blood. They didn't talk about the Night King at all, but they can do that now. They can kind of throw this in these scenes. And I freaking loved it, dude. He says the dragons were the greatest power in the world and they refused to cross it. It was a super cool intro, but I don't know. JD, did you like the little intro scene in Winterfell here?
I don't care about the intro scenes, but I did feel pretty nostalgic going back to the Wall, going back to Winterfell. It was really cool seeing those places and seeing Jace interact with the guy on the wall was a Stark.
Yeah, Cregan.
Yeah.
Cregan.
Yeah, just seeing the worlds collide there is a lot of fun. I had one other thing.
It was sick seeing Ice, like you said, Lub. Ice was strapped on his back, the massive greatsword that Ned beheads people with, the Valyrian sword. It was pretty cool to see.
Oh, it was just the the similarities to the Blackest Night, reading the Green Lantern comics, the way they build up to it is cool. And yeah, if that wasn't part of the book, it was so cool they put it in there because it didn't change the story. It wasn't a big thing or anything, but it was just a really cool little kind of Easter egg, if you want to call it that. But just thousands of years before Game of Thrones, it was still an issue for them. So you get to see that dark looming presence thousands of years before it even comes out to attack, So that was obviously a treat.
Yeah, no, that was dope. Especially because we got hints of it in season 1, obviously with Viserys talking about the prince who was promised and telling Rhaenyra, this is the prophecy, there's a great danger in the north, you need to be on the throne. And now her son is being told of that same danger, and he has no idea. He has no idea that Rhaenyra is aware of this. Like, he has no clue, but he's getting the same warning from a different person, from a totally different vantage point. But it's all about the night, the long night. I couldn't think of the word. It wasn't just night.
Well, in hindsight, the Starks are good. They got another, 100, 150 years, so they got to worry about it. So just send some troops, help out Team Black. Yeah. But I did like the Northern Stark accent at first. Like, he was really killing it. Then I was like, wait, is he just cosplaying as Jon Snow? Because he sounded a lot like Jon Snow when he was talking. But it was still cool with the score and that. Because no one in King's Landing talks like that. Like, they have a totally different accent.
No, which is cool. They got like the North vernacular and accent up there, and they're just a totally different breed of people up there. And this has been happening since Aegon. Aegon came to Winterfell, like he even said, in his ancestor Torrhen Stark,
right?
The king who kneeled, the king who bent the knee to Aegon. This is a repeating thing where a Targaryen comes up to the north and basically is like, either bend the knee or, hey, I need your help. We obviously all the way down to Jon Snow and Dany and. So I thought they just did a good job at making it feel like, these are Starks for sure. This is definitely Ned's ancestor, like this. Because I felt like he was cosplaying as Ned almost, but I loved it.
And it's like, why send troops to fight this war on the other side of the continent? Like, we have more important things to worry about. Like, do we really want to get into this civil war between Targaryens? Like, I understand why people are hesitant to just jump into a war with dragons on both sides, Yeah.
Well, especially when the North, their main thing is we're our own country. Like, we ain't the Seven Kingdoms. We're the North. Like, this is our land up here. Like, they kind of do their own thing up there. So even more so, they're hesitant to send people down. But we do find out, Jace says later, that they got 2,000 troops that they'll be sending down to support Team Black. So that's not bad. I mean, for the North, probably could have sent a little more. I don't know, Cregan. I guess we'll see what your numbers are looking like. But 2,000 ain't bad to start.
So those troops are coming from Winterfell?
Yeah, Greybeards, he said.
Okay, because at first I thought I heard they were coming from the Watch, or that's how I processed it. And I was like, they don't do that. They don't. What the hell's going on? How can you possibly change the lore like that? But false.
No, I think it was the Winterfell. Excuse me. But it is confusing because he did say, we can't send people down. We're protecting the wall. So he did kind of make it sound like he was talking about Night's Watch being sent to help too. But
he was talking to him on the wall. I thought he was part of the Night's Watch.
Yeah, it was just Cregan, I think, showing him what's up. Which that's a long journey to the wall from Winterfell.
Just to show someone around.
It's a long way to be like, I'm going to make a point, like a dramatic point right here by showing you the wall, by telling you, no, we won't help you. But he still did end up helping him, so. Yeah, I'm not really sure. But I enjoyed the dramatics of it. But
yeah,
it was probably cool. A little unnecessary.
Right.
It was cool. Yeah, we saw all the Winterfell banners and everything. I loved that. But so we fly back to Dragonstone. We see Meleys. God, I always butcher Rhaenys' dragon's name. I think it's Meleys. Meleys, maybe. I don't know. It's something around there. But they land, and Rhaenys gets off the dragon, and Daemon just comes straight up and is like, get back on. We're going to kill Vhagar. It's like, oh, okay. Daemon is not messing around here, but I love Rhaenys' character. She, again, just totally holds her ground, is not phased whatsoever, just tells him what's up, tells him why Rhaenyra's gone and why she needs closure, even though he's saying she's shirking her duty as queen. And then he goes, you're coming to King's Landing with me. It's a command. She goes, yeah, if only you were king. Just walks off and leaves him behind. But I love her, and I love Daemon just ready to go kill Vhagar, like right off the bat. It's just
Right.
pure Daemon right there.
Yeah, like Daemon just wants a quick end to things, and Rhaenyra is like not acting on impulse and revenge at the moment. Like she's the total opposite. So they are this kind of ice and fire duo
Totally.
together.
Yeah. Which, compared to Team Green, it's not that big of a civil war within the houses, but it is definitely, they're still clashing a little bit. Team Green's got a little bit more divisiveness going on over there, which we'll get to, but
Well,
yeah.
yeah, especially now that they caught her cheat. Oh, I mean, that one lady walked into her banging it out with Kristen, so that's big no-no for both of them. You know, the drama might start heating up there.
Yeah, I think people kind of had an inkling too when Kristen came into the small council meeting with his face smelling like Allison's crotch fresh out of her room there. Otto like looked at them and was like, "Yeah,
Did that
dude,
happen?
The first scene we got was Allison with Kristen's face between her freaking legs, just eating her out." I was like, "Oh, I didn't even realize what was happening until 5 seconds later." But
no, yeah, I thought you meant someone actually mentioned her faces smelling like something. I was like, what? I don't see Hightower mentioning anything like that. Hey, your face smells kind of like a pair of ball sacks.
Why does your beard smell like my daughter? Why do you know what your daughter smells like, sir? No, nobody said anything, but he gave them a look. And later in the episode, Larys Strong was like, "Oh yeah,
So-
they said you were indisposed," but everybody seems to be kind of onto them. And then Helena, sees them just straight up
But then
railing.
again, you have someone actually seeing it to confirm it, and
Right.
I could see that drama coming in to heat things up on the green side.
Yeah. And again, they already, yeah.
And he's supposed to be patrolling the damn streets, and
Right.
a kid got murdered that night, so he might get in a little trouble.
Oh, that's a good point. But he straight up
Right.
killed somebody at a wedding and then punched the frickin' prince to be king, and he didn't face any backlash. So I don't
he might
think
not
he
get
can
in
do
trouble,
anything
but-
wrong now. Yeah, no, you're
or
right, though.
A child murder is a different story, though.
It's pretty rough.
Just banging.
Just banging.
Oh, okay, I was gonna
Yeah.
say this is a name I thought of, but his new name is Cunnilingus Cole.
Oh, God. Get the hell out of here. I don't like him. I don't like him that much, but
Kind of a dirtbag.
touche,
And
I
also,
guess.
if we're talking about him now, he didn't
Yeah,
want
go for
to. He didn't want to bang Rhaenyra, right? Like he was too honorable to bang her, but he wanted
No,
to
he
run away
did.
with her.
He banged
did.
her that first night.
Oh, that's right.
And then
he
was
did.
like, "I broke my oath. We have to run away and go jump on boats with oranges now because I feel guilty.
That's
Will
what
you
it-
run away with me? Like, I know you're heir to the throne, but let's go to Essos because I just banged you." No, he was
I got confused
grade
by
A
the
idiot.
book, but he's with Alicent now, and he doesn't have that same kind of regret. He's just like, all right, like because she even says like this stops now, and he's like, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
yeah,
I'll see you
totally,
tomorrow.
Yeah. Mhm, yeah, I'll see you tonight. Like,
so like 7:00 tonight or 8.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I ain't taking any of that seriously. And it's only been like a week or two since Viserys' death. I'm pretty sure.
yeah,
Like,
that's
Jace just got news that Luke was killed, and they did say Rhaenyra's been searching for weeks, so it's probably been 2 to 3 weeks since Viserys died. But like, you're already slamming Kristen Cole. Solid work, Allison. Solid work.
With all the time jumps in season 1, I'm surprised how quickly this picks up off of the end of season 1. But I like it at the same time.
There's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, after Aemon straight up killed Jace or Luke, and Viserys is dead and all this, and it's I mean, a lot of stuff in the books did happen, you know. Viserys died, and it was a mad dash of ravens. I think one of the
Right.
lines is like, a cloud of ravens descended from Dragonstone's tower to like go to every single place across the country, and they were all frantically scrambling to get whoever they could on their side. So a lot of stuff happens right after. So real quick, I'm not going to touch on this much, but we saw Corlys Velaryon real quick just for a brief scene there, and he's talking to this guy named Alan of Hull, and he gives him a dagger that was made for Luke. But Alan, I don't remember exactly, but I know he comes back in he plays a large role coming into the future of these fights. I forget how, but we got a glimpse of this man for a reason. He's gonna come back and make a splash. I just forget what he exactly did.
When do we see this accident with Corlys? Like, because he walks with the cane now.
It was at the end of season 1, remember? He almost died. and that's why his brother went to King's Landing to petition
That's
the illegitimacy
right.
of
He
the
was hella
sons
sick.
because Corlys was going to die, and he's like, I need to be the heir. He's going to die. They're not giving it to these bastard kids, and he pulled through. But it was a fight at the Stepstones that caused that. So anyway, let's get to King's Landing. Let's get into all this messy business with the Greens. The first scene we get are Hightower shields and cloaks pulling into the Red Keep, and we see Hightower banners hanging from the Red Keep. And I'm like, how are Aegon and Aemon cool with the Targaryen banners being taken down and Hightower stuff being put up? Like, he's the king. He's still a Targaryen. And yet the entire Red Keep is just adorned with Hightower green banners and stuff. I don't
Otto's
get
on
how
his
you don't
third
see a
king,
red
man.
flag there. Yeah, bro. Fool needs to chill. Like, the Targaryen is still king. I don't know how you're just taking down Targaryen stuff, but
The king doesn't seem to have an ego, like not even close to Joffrey, obviously, but he doesn't seem to care about being famous and like loved and worshipped or
cool in this
any of that.
episode.
He's kind of laid back.
I don't think he cares about being king, but I think he does want to be liked because when we see the scenes at the throne, he's trying to give the small folk everything. He's like, yeah, we'll return your sheep.
That
Yeah, you
was
can
funny.
have the money. Like, yeah, you can do
I
all
love it.
this. And Otto's like, no, you can't do that. We can't give money out like this. You can't do this. And in the book, it's kind of said that he was really desperate for the people to accept him. Like, he felt like he didn't belong and he wanted to become like a positive figure, but he doesn't want to be there. It's obvious. Like, he's bringing Jacaerys in. He obviously doesn't take the role seriously, and
Right.
he tried to run away last season to avoid being king. So you're right about that. He doesn't really care about being king at all, but I think he
'Cause
does
he-
want people to like him.
That scene made me like him a lot when he's like, why can't we just
Same.
give him the sheep? It's just like this one guy. Let's just give
He
this
came
one
all
guy
this
the sheep
way.
back. Yeah, I came all this way. And then he's like, no, we can't do that. Then we'll have to do it for everybody. Well, why don't we just... Didn't he say, like, why don't we just keep it a secret? We'll just give it to him. No one
we
will
just
know.
won't tell anybody.
Yeah.
But it
love
just
it.
shows
Funny. It
how
was funny.
he's not paying attention in any of the small council meetings. Like, he has
Right.
he's not aware of the policies or the prior
None of us would.
engagements they've made. You know, right?
At that age.
But he is still the magnanimous King Aegon.
Magnanimous. Nobody knows what that means.
It's a type of condom, I think.
Yeah. I loved it. I loved the small council scene. I loved the throne room scene with Aegon. Exactly like you said, JD. I found it almost like endearing. Like, it was hilarious where he brings Jacaerys and he's like, look, he's got a lead. And Jacaerys keeps taking Tywin Lannister's ball. And Tywin's getting pissed. And he's like, oh, is the future king of Westeros bothering you there? Why don't you give him a pony ride? It's like making this guy
Oh
get
my
up
God.
until Alicent's like, hey, we don't have time for that. And Aegon pulls a, yeah, Tylan, we don't have time for that. Not now. Like, it was Tylan's idea. I don't know. I was loving it. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, he's just
Tylen's
savage.
probably happy that kid died.
Oh, for sure.
But
Super happy.
Dude, the small council meetings, that's what made Game of Thrones so great. Like in season 2 with Tyrion,
they were
and
awesome.
when Tywin
Peak.
comes back and he's Han and he's running the small council meetings, those are such
Yeah.
great scenes with Varys and Littlefinger and like, Cersei
just made
getting
me-
pissed. Like,
That just made me think, sidebar, Tyrion and his dad were so similar in a lot of ways, yet there was obviously so much animosity,
that's-
but they were so
that's the
similar because
thing.
they both came in as hand and just ran shit. Like very Lannister-like, very similar to each other. It's too bad they couldn't get along.
It's too bad.
Well, yeah,
he was a dwarfist.
no, Tyrion's aunt says that to him, and I think it's in the book. Tyrion's
is.
aunt's like, Tywin would never admit that you are more like him than Jaime. Like, you are
Yeah.
the spitting image of Tywin when Jaime is just this kind of brash warrior. Like, you have the cunning that Tywin has.
He does, too. Like, he totally does.
Yeah.
He's the smartest of the children. He was obvious. Yeah. It's, again, it's good writing. It's very poetic in that way, and it's funny
until
seeing
he
the
leaves. They just write Tyrion out
Oh,
of the
yeah.
show pretty
Yeah.
much. It's
Yeah.
annoying. I hope the
Let's
books.
not-
I hope
let's not.
Winds of Winter comes out and Tyrion's a banger in that
Before
one.
we die?
Hopefully, there's some
Hopefully, yeah.
big differences, and that's one of them.
George starts eating healthy and writes the book. That'd be cool.
Give this man some lion's mane.
God. So yeah, we real quick, we got a quick scene. Again, this was another scene where I was like, Aegon's kind of funny, bro. So it was Helena, and she was sitting there, and she's doing her whole green seer thing, saying random lines that people think she's crazy about, but it's going to happen in a day or so. And she tells her, I'm scared, and Aegon's like, don't worry, like nothing to be scared about. Vhagar's patrolling the castle, and she's like, no, I'm afraid of the rats or something. And Aegon, like, looks around, looks at the handmaiden, looks back at her, he's like, the queen's an enduring mystery, is she not? And just walks out like, what the hell? She's nuts. Like, she's full on nuts. But like the actor playing Aegon is doing great. He's doing an awesome job. I'm loving every scene so far with him.
But that line, the rats.
Yeah. Right. Well, and we saw the
it.
rat catcher the next scene, and so I was like, oh, something's going to happen. And I told Megan, I was like, she always says random stuff like this that ends up happening. So something with rats is coming up. And I didn't even put that together.
Yeah, and her handmaidens are also like terrified of Aegon. So he's apparently
probably raped them all.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, he is this like nice guy to the public, but also you see him in like the kind of more private scenes, and all of her handmaidens are like terrified to speak, look at him, their eyes are down, so like he's still a piece of shit deep down, you know?
Oh, for sure. Well, and I think the events at the end of this episode is going to lead into him really turning a corner to where I'm like, okay, I don't like him anymore. I think so. I'm getting Viserys vibes from him, but not King Viserys, Dany's brother Viserys from Game of Thrones. I feel like that aspect of him is about to come out in full force in the next episode, because I think he liked his son. That's the son, whatever. It doesn't matter. The son that gets killed at the end is the one he brought to the small council. Jaehaerys. Like, I think he cared for that son, Jaehaerys. It's his first son. And so I think this is going to really be like, all right, enough talk. We need to go kill Team Black. This is BS. And he's going to kind of turn a crazy, crazy corner here. But,
well, didn't you guys hear? I thought I heard news that we're going to hate him more than Joffrey once this season is over. Am I imagining that, or did you guys hear? Did you guys hear news like that?
I think I did. What I don't remember if it was Aemond or Aegon that I heard that about, but that does ring a bell. I think it's going to be
their audience, but yeah, I thought I heard something like that.
No, like I said, I see that psychotic nature in Aegon's eyes there in certain scenes, and once he finds that out, I think it's going to be like sadistic.
You're right. We're going to see whatever character we are familiar with now is not going to be the same after you find out your kid died. So we don't know what we're going to get.
Not only died, got his head sawed off.
And to be honest, every violent thing he does from here on out, I'm going to understand, to be honest. You know,
I mean, it's complicated. It is complicated because how can you not sympathize with his anger after that?
I mean,
he didn't even want the throne.
Yeah, depending on who or how he does it, that violence, you know, I'm not going to care. I mean, like I said, depending on who or how he does it, you know, I'm going to sympathize.
He's more justified than Aemond being pissed about his eye 10 years later when he wasn't even pissed about it that night.
Yeah, like watching Joffrey or Ramsay, you know, there's zero.
Well, yeah.
You know, there's nothing like that, but at least with this guy, I'll understand some of it.
Right.
They have to make more support for Team Green in the show.
They do. They're not looking great so far. They're looking like a bunch of scumbags. But
this does it.
Yeah. This is not a good look for Team Black, and I think just like we had episode 9 and 10 that were kind of Team Green, Team Black, I think this premiere is going to kind of be in the same vein of that. I think Team Black is going to look worse in episode 2, and maybe it's Team Green's turn to strike in episode 2. I don't know. Well, I think they're going to be bouncing back and forth, but they definitely lean towards Team Black being the protagonist in this episode.
Right. You said, how come, Lub? Like, how come the Team Green, now we sympathize?
Yeah,
or why does it seem like... Just because... Well, in the way I'm looking at it, just because the king there, with his kid getting killed, I did not sympathize with Green for any reason whatsoever. Now, they're going to take a bunch of revenge, and I'm totally going to be like, you know what, I get it. That's what's different. I'm a little more Green now after that, for sure. I mean, not more than Black, but my 90% Black... is now 80.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I'm just saying in the promotion it was like choose your side, Team Black, Team Green, and everyone's like, well, obviously Team Black. So they need to kind of push it towards the middle more.
Well, I was Team
Yeah,
Black too.
which-
Love's a sick bastard. He's
Well,
Team
I was
Green,
joking
but...
when I said that. Obviously,
Hey, bro, whatever you say.
Team Green.
And then so we got Allison. She's pissed. Nobody listens to her. She feels like she just has no voice at all. Otto just undermines her at every possible turn. And honestly, she's in a horrible position. Like, all of her allies are scumbags. Her dad is butting heads with her. Her most loyal person is the Oathbreaker, Kristen, who's just there to eat her out. And her other most loyal person is the Kinslayer and freak, Larys Strong. And the latter is now catching on to her and Kristen hooking up and literally surrounds her with his hand-picked maidens to spy on her. And so Allison kicks all the handmaidens out at one point during the scene. And I think she's realizing, like, I messed up like making an alliance with this Larys guy, because now he's straight up surrounding me with his spies because I'm hooking up with Kristen. Like, he's unstable, and I think Allison's starting to realize I've made a lot of wrong allies in this process so far. Like, she doesn't have a lot going for her. Nobody's got her back, you know? Like, it's just not a great position.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that when I watched the episode when she kicks the handmaidens out while she's taking a bath. But that was right after, because she asked Larys, "What did you do with those, people who broke my trust?" And he's like, "I killed them."
Yeah, they don't breathe our air. Like,
yeah, they don't like. And she's like, "Okay, like maybe just put them in the black cells, or take them, send them away." But like, yeah, I
burned his
made a
brother and
mistake
dad
here.
alive. Like,
Yeah.
he ain't doing any shortcuts. He's just straight killing everybody. And yeah, he's sketchy. I might hate him more than anybody by the end of this show. I already do, I think. So I would love to see a brutal death for Sir Larys Strong there.
Yeah, and even later he talks with Aegon, and he's like, "Hey, I need to talk to you for a second privately." And Otto's been the hand for Three Kings. He was your dad's hand. He was your grandpa's hand. Like, you need your own hand. Like, you need a fresh rebuild going on here, and I'm the guy. So he's killing handmaidens, and he's trying to get higher on the realm.
He's definitely Littlefinger. 170 years before Littlefinger arrived. He's definitely got that same vibe going. All right, so back to Team Black. Rhaenyra finally returns. Well, real quick, her and Caraxes are flying. No, not Caraxes. Her and Syrax are flying around, and they find Arax's wing, and she's searching Storm's End, and this is Shipwrecker's Bay. And we've heard of that a lot in Game of Thrones. It's the same area that Sir Davos sailed through to get the onions to... oh, no, what's his name? What the hell?
Stannis.
Good Lord. It's been a while. So Shipwrecker Bay is in a lot of stuff. It's known for, obviously, ships wrecking, because Storm's End, again, aptly named Storm's End because there's massive storms there. This is the Shipwrecker's Bay. It's the same storm that Aemond and Luke flew through at the end of that. It's known for just insane storms. And so that's where Rhaenyra is searching. She's in Storm's End and in and
Where
around.
Bobby B's from.
Yeah, Bobby B, the one, the only.
The best.
So finds the wing, finds the cloak, knows Luke's dead, comes back pissed. Daemon embraces her, and I think he kind of took to heart what Rhaenys said. He handled it a little better than he was feeling at the start of this episode, and he asks if she found what she needed. She walks around, and immediately Daemon's like, "I'll fly to Harrenhal under your command and establish a toehold in the Riverlands," which, by the way, I forgot to mention, Aemon came to the small council. Nobody wanted him there, but Aegon invited him. And that was his suggestion, is we need to fly to Harrenhal. I'll take Vhagar to Harrenhal, and we need to establish a toehold there. So, again, Aemon and Daemon, super similar. Like, they're really, really similar characters here. But it's also interesting because now that's two people saying we need to fly to Harrenhal. And I think we're going to get a big face-off there. I don't recall from the book, but I feel like that's lining up for a big battle to happen at Harrenhal. Both sides are looking at it to establish their toehold. And it's even more interesting because Aegon the Conqueror came to Harrenhal and laid waste to it because the guy, I forgot his first name, but he was known as the Black because he was burned to death by Balerion. That's kind of where the Targaryens made their mark at first, is when they burned down Harrenhal. And it's Larys Strong's, it's now his land. And to top it off, again, it's the same place where Rhaenyra's children's father was burned alive. So there's a lot of backstory, a lot of stuff that ties into Harrenhal, and I really think we're going to get a crazy face-off at Harrenhal. At least I hope so.
It's kind of like the river run of Game of Thrones, you know, where that's kind of it's in the same
River
area.
Run.
It's in the Riverlands.
Yeah.
So Harrenhal's right there too.
Yep. Yeah, I hope Caraxes like straight up rapes Laris and lights him on fire or something. Just something subtle like that, but like, you know, just a chill death for him.
There was a really good line from Eric when he's talking to Daemon.
Yes.
And he's like, I swore an oath to protect the royal family, so what do you do when they're fighting each other? Like, Daemon's like, you know, you let them take the throne. Like, why were you not there to help Rhaenyra out? He's like, I swore to protect the royal family. Like, what the hell am I supposed to do when there's a civil war going on? Like,
right.
And that's the same thought with so many people right now.
Bro, the craziest part about his line there was he goes, my brother and I were sworn into the Kingsguard, which this also doesn't make sense because they're identical twins. But he says, oh, maybe they were just brought in at different times. He says, my brother and I were brought into the Kingsguard at the age of 8 and 10 and swore to protect the whole royal family.
That's 18.
8 and 10?
18.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. I
missed
forgot that's how they say
George R. R.
numbers.
Martin. Yeah.
I forgot that's how they say ages. I was like, bro, 8 years old? You were sworn into the Kingsguard?
It's crazy.
Holy, I knew you guys did stuff young, but like that's a liability. Hey, you're 8. Protect the king here. Okay, so they were 18. Sorry, thank you, love.
That makes I mean, I would see that
way
too,
more
though,
sense
when he's talking about twins.
Yeah. But no, it was a great line. What were we supposed to do when they turned on each other? And it's true. Like, what the hell were you supposed to do? And I think he made a pretty damn bold move by stealing the crown and coming to you on Dragonstone. If that didn't buy your trust, Daemon, like, come on, man. Give this guy a break.
Right.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Rhaenyra this episode, she doesn't have what does she have any dialogue besides
It's the one line. I want Aemon Targaryen. It's her only line of the whole episode.
She kills it though, like for having no dialogue at all. She displays the emotion so good in every scene she's in.
Emma D'Arcy is absolutely killing it. Honestly, all the cast is. Really, the cast has been fantastic in the first episode, but Emma really, really laid it down. Yeah, just the facial expressions and everything. You can feel the pain. Like, you can feel that pain of losing a child through her. She's done great with it.
Yeah.
In that scene where Jace returns. So Jace returns, and he sees his mom for the first time, and he's trying to be a man and report back what happened
prince.
through tears. He tells her Winterfell will send 2,000 soldiers, and the Lady of the Vale, Jane Poole, will be on their side as long as they provide a dragon to protect the Vale. A lot of backstory to Lady Jane here. She's in a lot of stuff in Fire and Blood. She's mentioned a lot, and she's kind of a whore. So she's kind of known in Fire and Blood for being a loose woman. She gets around a lot. All the way to the point where they mention when Jaehaerys flew to the Vale to get their allegiance, she told him the only way she would swear allegiance is if Jaehaerys was able to bring her to climax with his tongue. It's documented. So she's for the streets.
George has that dog in him.
George is messed up, bro.
Dude, he has that dog in him, bro. Like,
why?
Especially the Jon Snow and the redhead from Beyond the Wall.
Yeah.
Those scenes between the two of them are like
in
so
the books,
detailed.
it's too much.
It
turns into a smut book. It's just like, bro, I'm not reading this to get like hot and heavy here, bro. You don't need this. George definitely took some breaks in between writing that stuff. He got himself excited.
A little sweaty.
But so they got the Vale. They got Winterfell. They've got the greatest naval presence in the Valerians. Team Black's looking pretty damn good right now. You got the North, you have the Vale, you've got the sea, and you've got more dragons. So they are looking pretty damn solid moving forward in this war here.
Don't count out my girl Vhagar.
I know, she's the biggest. Oh, and that's hilarious. Everybody's like, Aemon wants to go to the Vale, and they're like, bro, you can't take Vhagar away from the Red Keep. Like, that's the only reason we're not getting bombarded by dragons is because Vhagar is here. True. You can't take her away from here. She's got to stay.
He's stuck
so that'll
there.
be interesting. I imagine Aemon might break order and fly Vhagar over to Harrenhal once he hears of Daemon going there or something. Hopefully again, but
I think Aemon versus Daemon will be like the most hype fight since the Clegane Bowl.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
Stoked for it. God,
They're setting it up so well.
No spoilers. Just don't say anything too much. But do you recall a face-off between those two? Is all I want to know.
No, I don't actually.
Okay.
I don't
'Cause
at all.
I don't. And not saying that I don't think it happens. I just don't remember if it did or not from it. But God, I feel like they have to do it. You have to at this point. You've had multiple scenes where they've gotten kind of in their face, and Aemon kind of like was blown away when Daemon cut off the half of the head of Corlys's brother. Like he was almost like aroused by it. There's just been a lot of different little small facial expressions and scenes where it's like there's something between them. They're connected and something's gonna happen. But before we get into the end here, it was pretty interesting seeing this parallel between Alicent and Rhaenyra. Alicent's at the Sept praying for those who have died as Rhaenyra burns Luke's clothes at his funeral. And surprisingly, we hear Alicent even say Lucerys' name in her prayers. She says Lucerys Valerian, showing her guilt of his death, definitely still being fresh on her mind. And we don't go into it in this episode, but in Fire and Blood, Aemond is definitely demonized when he comes back. Like, he's known as the Kinslayer. Mm-hmm. He killed an envoy, which is a massive no-no. That's like a cardinal rule. You don't kill a messenger. And not only did he kill a messenger, but he killed his kin. So he had a lot of people didn't know too. That's the thing with Fire and Blood. People complain about changes, but it was different people's accounts. It wasn't an actual factual thing being told. So some people said that Aemon followed Luke's body down and cut his eyes out and then presented it to somebody. Others say that actually Luke survived, but he lost all of his memory and lived out the rest of his days as a fisherman in Storm's End. So there's a lot of, again, it's Fire and Blood, people saying they changed it. It wasn't an actual story. Like, it was just a bunch of different people's accounts and takes on stuff. So it's not totally changing the story.
Where's Mushroom at, though? Where's Mushroom and his large member at?
I'm surprised that they didn't throw him in, but I think it's good. Since he was like the narrator of Fire and Blood, I think it's a safe bet to just like leave him out of this if you want to do anything different. But
when I was listening today, it says that he goes to Dragonstone with Rhaenyra. Like, before Viserys dies, he goes over there with her, like, as part of her little, with Daemon and her, like, he's part of her little small council and stuff.
So he's definitely not going to be in it then, because we haven't seen him this far. So that's interesting. What do we think of Aemon and Kristen plotting in that room, aside from everybody else kind of doing their own thing, and then Otto walks in? What do you think of that scene, Lub?
It really makes me think that Aemon is the one that should be king. Like, I know Aegon is the firstborn, but when he's talking all this wisdom about, war with dragons can't be avoided, and like everyone blames Aemon for starting this war when his mom Alicent usurped the throne, like, and he's just so much wiser than his years, and he has Vhagar. So if Aemon was king, like, I feel like Team Black would be so much more screwed, because Aegon is king, he just messes around all the time, and Aemon would get shit done.
Dude, he totally would. He would be a great king, honestly. Like, it feels like he's born for it, but unfortunately, Kristen didn't let Aegon sail away. I almost wonder, bro, like, yes, he's vindictive against the Valerians. He got his eye cut out. He thinks they're stealing the throne and they're bastards. But if you put him past that point, I have to wonder if he'd be a good king. I don't know. When you take away that bitterness he has towards that other side of the family, he's very smart. He's seems to be a good leader. He's intelligent. He's a great fighter, obviously, which doesn't always make a good king, being a good fighter. But I find myself wondering how he would be in that role.
Aegon will be acting on his impulses and revenge for his son dying. Like, if Aemon's son died, I feel like he still would keep his mind,
Yeah.
Because Vhagar, like, he did show up and like want to kind of fuck up Luke, but at the same time when he's riding in the air, he's like trying to avoid it, but maybe the dragon kind of sees his intentions and still kills him, but you can tell he regrets the decision immediately.
For sure. No, I just, from what we've seen, he seems dedicated to his duties. He even tells Aegon, he's like, I'd marry Helena if it was, if it was my duty, I'd marry her, because Aegon's complaining about having to marry Helena, and Aemon's like, I would happily do it. Like, it's what's good for the throne. It's what's good for the realm. Like, I would do it instantly. So he's definitely more of a classic, respects the rules of the land kind of deal. He respects tradition and the throne itself and the realm. So it'd be interesting. But let's get into, JD, I don't know if you had anything on Aemon and Kristen there, or Aemon in general.
No, yeah, I agree with everything. He'd make a great king. He would really get shit done. He'd be the aggressive go-getter king, right? Like that one guy said in this episode, he's just fiercely loyal. That's one of his big attributes.
Yeah. He's seeking to please.
I really like the character. You said he's a lot like Daemon, and I love that about him. Daemon and Aemon are probably the most interesting, watchable characters in this show right now. Well, plus Rhaenyra, because she's amazing, like you said. But with one line of dialogue, you don't really get that coming out of this episode.
Right. Yeah. Looking forward to next episode with her, but yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, she's going to shine. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the actor who plays Aemon, I don't believe I've seen him in anything before, but I really like him, man. It's just like Aegon. I just feel like he's got that charisma when he's on screen, and every line delivery he has, he does a really good job.
Dude, they killed the casting in this show, because the only Targaryens we see in Game of Thrones are Dany and Viserys. So but even Helena just looks like a Targaryen. Even the little kids they cast as her kids look like little Targaryen kids. Like, there's just a certain look about them, and they got it down. Where even Aegon and Aemon, they look like brothers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, they did. I think their middle-aged castings, when Aemon claimed Vhagar for the first time, I thought those were way off. Because Aemon was like kind of the short, stocky one, and Aegon was the tall, lanky, skinny one with the long, skinny face. And then we time jump, and then all of a sudden Aemon is the one with the tall, long, skinny face, and Aegon's kind of more the shorter, stockier one. That was weird. But the casting now, is great.
Because it said in the book that Aegon is the larger child. And Aemon, it says that Aemon was always short for his age, but he was like fiery and had that, that Targaryen blood in him, but he was small for his age.
So that middle-aged casting then was perfect, because that was how he was in those episodes where he captures Vhagar and Aemon's, doing the raping and jacking off over the people of King's Landing out of his window. That was exactly to the book description, so it's odd they changed it, but
well, it's like even the two Rhaenyra's kids, since it's been 2 years since the last season, like, they've grown up a lot in those 2 years. It's kind of like the Stranger Things kids, where every season it's like, okay, like, we need to get this show out before they turn into full adults.
Right. Yeah. No. All right, well, let's get into the infamous part of this episode, Blood and Cheese. It's a very well-known story coming out of Fire and Blood. People were complaining because there were some differences between the book and the show. But after going back and checking the book events, there weren't as many differences as I thought. But so we get Blood, who is a former Kingsguard who served under Daemon when he was the Lord Commander. He even calls him Lord Commander when Daemon walks up.
Kingsguard or City Watch?
City Watch, you're right. In the books, he was kicked out of the Watch after like beating a prostitute to death in a drunken rage or something. Like, guy's a big, violent, angry dude. So him and the rat catcher Cheese. What? Just the gravelly deepness to it?
Yeah. Or? Was that his real voice, or you think he was like? Because it sounded like he was trying to like sound. It didn't sound like it sounded like it was modulated or something. Yeah.
I don't know. I just figured it was probably done for effect, but that's Blood, and then Cheese is the rat catcher, so that's why it's called Blood and Cheese. I think, fortunately for us, it changed from the book, but again, just a little bit. But a lot of people are online complaining, like, why did they change this event? But I guess it's because, which I didn't hear this, but they kind of sold it as Blood and Cheese will be in this season, and it's going to be another Red Wedding. Like, it's going to top the Red Wedding, is what some people were saying they were told. And so with that, yeah, it wasn't as bad as the Red Wedding. But in the books, so they go in, and Alicent is actually in the room as well with Helena, and I thought they actually raped the youngest girl. They didn't. They just threatened to. But so they threaten to rape the younger daughter if they don't shut up, and then they say, all right, pick what kid you want to live. We're killing the other one.
And there's 3 kids.
There's 3 kids. There's 2 sons and a daughter, which in the show there was only the 2. And they didn't really specify. I think it was just a daughter and a son in the show, because they said, I don't even know which one's the boy, which one's the girl, which one is the boy, tell us. But in the book, they tell her, pick what son you don't want to die. And so she picks Jaehaerys, the older, thinking that Maegor, the younger, would not remember, because he was only 2 at that point. And so they instead kill the person she picks, which is Jaehaerys, and they saw his head off in front of them, and it's pretty brutal. Again, it was still pretty brutal in the show. They let Helena leave and didn't have to watch, and Alicent wasn't in the room. But I don't know what you guys thought of the scene. I was watching with Megan, and I skipped forward 10 to 20 seconds, and Megan's like, why are you skipping? And I was like, well, I have a feeling we're listening to a kid's head getting sawed off, and I don't really feel like you want to listen to that, so skipping ahead. I was also worried they might show it from start to finish, too, so I didn't think you wanted to see that either, so skipped ahead. From what I've heard, the sound effects were pretty gnarly. JD, what'd you think of the scene?
Yeah, the sound effects were gnarly. I hated it. I'm like, dude, why did you include a slicing like sound? I don't know, a stab sound and a scream. Don't show any. They didn't show anything. That's fine, but the sounds were too descriptive. Like, we're talking about slicing and muffled screams of a child. That's way too disturbing, and it's very unnecessary. So I don't even like that they went that far. You know, it's a kid.
And people are complaining they didn't show more. I'm like, it's a 2-year-old. Why
fuck?
are you? That's it. There were a couple comments. I was like, I think that says more about you. That you're disappointed that you didn't get to see a child's head cut off, bro. That's weird. I was relieved. Like, I don't know, but there's a fair amount of people who were like, I just don't get why they changed it. I'm like, I do. It's a 2-year-old.
I think. Yeah. I'm gonna try and play the other side. I think they did just enough to make you feel like crap.
How horrible it was.
Yeah, because when it shows Helena running out with the daughter, like because I was looking, like my eyes couldn't avert from what was going on, so I like was looking in the corner. But when she like runs out, it just shows like the guy like leaning forward, but you don't see the child at all. So they did just enough, and I feel like HBO just kind of pushes that line, and I feel like that was kind of going back to like classic Game of Thrones, where it's like right on that borderline of too much but just enough. So I kind of liked it, because I feel like people have been playing it too safe lately, and I feel like they kind of just pushed that line.
Well, so they did have to do something here, because again, Blood and Cheese is a very infamous event from Fire and Blood and from this entire conflict. Like, this was the thing where it was like, oh, there's no rules. Like, they threatened to rape the daughter, they killed the son, the 2-year-old, they chopped his head off. Like, it was brutal in the book, and it was a very well-known event. Like, that's awful. So I get why I guess they said it's going to be like the Red Wedding. But again, I'm not disappointed that we didn't see that. And I see what you're saying, Lub. I think you did need to get the point across of this is like an unspeakable, atrocious thing that kicks off this war to the next level. But like I said, I skipped because I didn't need to hear the sound effects. I got the picture. As soon as he started muffling the kid's mouth and Helena started walking out of there, I was like, yep, I'm good. I know what's happening. I will file that and skip ahead 20 seconds and call it a day. But man...
But even the build up to the scene, because you have like where they walk in through the tunnel and they come out in the middle of the the throne room, and Aegon's sitting there on his throne talking shit about Aemon, about how he's basically his little pet that he can tell to do, he can do whatever he wants, go kill whoever he wants, and then like they walk through that room, and then the score kind of hits, and there's like the rain going on outside, and as they're creeping around from room to room. So it was like very anxiety inducing, where like you think they're gonna get caught, you don't know if they're gonna get caught, and then they finally find, Blood finds Cheese already in the wrong room because Aemon told them, the guy with one eye, like, he killed someone. He's not a 4-year-old child. Like, he's obviously someone older than this person, but they're like, okay, we need to bring Daemon back some head. So, but yeah, it was like the whole scene was like amazing.
Like, you're not getting paid though. He straight up told you the guy has an eye patch. It's Aemon. Bring me his head, and you're gonna bring a 2-year-old's head back who has both eyes. Like, you're not going to get that second half of the payment. You're probably going to get killed by Daemon because he's going to be pissed because you botched the job so bad. You definitely can't go back to work as a rat catcher tomorrow because Helena saw you. So, weird decision. I think they just panicked. I think when they saw that handmaiden and then she ran off and Blood turned around the corner to go after her and she was gone, I think they were panicking. And then he came back around the corner and there's Cheese already with Helena. But regardless, pretty intense little thing to happen to end this off, and it's obviously going to be... It's messed up. We've had back-to-back episodes now in House of the Dragon that's ended with a young child being murdered.
I don't think Rhaenyra is going to be happy.
No, she's going to be pissed. She just lost her son. She's not going to be happy about the wrong child being murdered. She's going to be pissed. So I wouldn't be surprised if Cheese gets straight up burned.
Wait. So break it down kind of for me and for the audience. So who was supposed to be killed and who was killed? Who was their mom and all that?
So Daemon got that word from Rhaenyra saying, I want Aemon Targaryen. So Daemon went into his little connections he has, and whether that's Flea Bottom or where, and the old guard, and the order was to bring Aemon Targaryen's head back to him. A son for a son. He has one eye. He told the guys, like, bring me Aemon Targaryen's head. He'll be in the Red Keep.
So he did specifically say Aemon's. Okay.
Yeah, with one eye.
Pretty sure he said Aemon to the guy and then followed up with, he's the guy with one eye. But I hear he said he's good in a fight, so you need to be careful. It obviously isn't a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Right. like they knew that wasn't the target. They had to have known. They just were like, well, a son for a son. This works. We don't know where Aemon is, but this is a son, so it's the best we can do. We got to get out of here. So that it was supposed to be Aemon. Instead, they killed Jaehaerys Targaryen, who is the oldest son of Aegon, the sitting
heir to
king
the throne.
now. The heir to the throne, the kid who we saw brought into the small council, that is the one who got his head cut off at the end. Yeah. So it's pretty brutal.
Those guys are just stupid. Like, they just made a ridiculous mistake. That's all that comes down to.
They're just stupid and scared. I think they just wanted to wrap it up. Yeah, exactly. So obviously we're gonna kick off into some crazy stuff. I do have some dragon questions for you. I'm gonna throw out real quick at the end, but before, JD, overall thoughts on the episode coming back to Westeros. What'd you think?
Man, it just felt good to be back to just such a high quality show. Aside from this infanticide, like, nothing crazy happened, but regardless, it's still so engaging just because everything is so well done, So not as eventful as I expected, but still just so good to be back, So it's a solid mid to low 8s just because it wasn't eventful, but it's still just so solid.
Right. Lub?
Yeah, I'm so excited to be back, especially with the Acolyte being not blowing me away, and Marvel, I'm just waiting on Deadpool. So when it comes to fandom universes, like Game of Thrones with the House of the Dragon season 1 was so solid. I was just waiting for season 2 the whole time, and like I said today, I listened to House of the Dragon season 1 on Fire and Blood all the way up. So it's easier catching up on the book than watching 10 hours of a show. So that was a good way to catch up.
Straight up.
So yeah, I'm so excited. Like, I think Game of Thrones might be my favorite universe now.
Dude, I'm getting there, man. It's really, like, the fact that the quality of this, like, I'm not kidding. I rewatched season 1 getting ready for this. I hadn't rewatched it since it first came out. And I kind of thought, well, maybe I just liked it so much because we were going back to Westeros. But no, man, I rewatched season 1. I liked it more than I did the first time. And I would legitimately put it up in, like, the top top 5 of all-time seasons between House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones. I thought season 1 was incredible for House of the Dragon, and I think it was just as good as the best that we've gotten from Game of Thrones. So I think it's incredible they're able to pull that off. And honestly, so again, I'm not trying to take shots at the Acolyte. I'm interested to see what happens. There's a lot of season left, but it's just refreshing coming off of disappointing Marvel projects, coming off of disappointing Star Wars projects. It's refreshing to watch something and not feel like I'm kind of convincing myself like, well, hold on, give it a chance. Well, this might turn out all right. Hold on. Like, I don't got to convince myself of anything. I'm sitting there watching going, this is great. This is great. There's no doubt about it. This is great. I'd be happy to recommend this to anybody. This is just quality TV.
It's just HBO, man. HBO is another level. The best.
It is.
Penguin, baby.
Andor was on this level of maybe not House of the Dragon, but writing wise and everything. Like, Andor was on another level, so they have the capabilities to do that over at Disney Plus. Like, it's there. You just need to hire good writers and people who are passionate about stuff. But again, this isn't an episode to bash the Acolyte. There's still hope, but it's just nice to come to a really good show that's just like undebatably quality. So. Yeah, I'd say it's in the low 8s too. Not a lot happened, but I love it. Can't wait for next episode. I wanted to ask you guys something. This is called House of the Dragons. We got a few shots of dragons in this episode, not a lot, but the word is season 2 will be dragon packed. We have 6 unclaimed dragons still out there. So I want to know if we think we're going to see some of these and maybe who may be writing them. But I want to list them off real quick. So we got Vermithor. He was actually featured in season 1. It's when Daemon came up to him and was singing in Valyrian to him. I think Daemon's going to end up claiming him, but he's been unclaimed for 26 years.
Daemon?
Sorry, Daemon. He's been unclaimed.
Daemon.
What's up?
Who'd you say?
Daemon.
Doesn't he already have a dragon?
He does, but remember he walked up and was singing those songs to this dragon that started blowing fire in the cave, and Daemon held still and held his torch up and was singing in Valyrian. No, that was Vermithor. So he's an absolutely savage dragon. His last rider was King Jaehaerys, so again 26 years ago, but he's the second largest living dragon right below Vhagar. So this fool is a beast. He trumps Cyrax and Caraxes. Like, this fool is a unit. So I think Team Black's going to be pulling him in. But we have Sea Smoke, who was the dragon of Sir Laenor Velaryon, who, again, people think he's dead, but he is actually alive, so who knows if he still has Sea Smoke or not. But technically, that's another unclaimed dragon. We've got Silverwing, who the last rider was Queen Alicent Targaryen 29 years ago, who was with her when they flew to the wall that Cregan Stark referenced. Silverwing was the one where Alicent tried to fly north of the wall, and the dragon refused to go and disobeyed her orders, going, nope, there's something out there. And then we've got 3 wild ones who have never been claimed. We've got the Cannibal. He gets talked about a lot in Fire and Blood. He's the largest of the 3 wild dragons. He's known to feast on newborn dragons and dragon eggs, and he's an absolute savage and probably the scariest wild dragon out there. There's one called Sheep Stealer, who's not aggressive towards humans unless provoked, and he's known to steal sheep from flocks on Dragonstone, but has never harmed a shepherd. Not exactly who you want on your side. And then Grey Ghost, which all we know about this dragon is it's said to be a shy dragon, and that's literally that's all. That's all we got. Girl. So Team Green can have Sheep Stealer and Grey Ghost, if you ask me. But my question is, do you guys think we'll see either any of these dragons in this season, or do you think a team's going to claim them? Do you think we'll see some of these wild dragons this season?
I think it's going to be maybe slightly integral to the story. That's why they brought it up. Like, the race to get more dragons on your side would be a really fun story to kind of watch.
Yeah.
Well, Team Black has more than Team Green at the moment, but who can Team Green add besides a time jump and letting Helena's kids grow up a little bit more?
Was Helena a dragon rider in Fire and Blood?
Yeah, she has a dragon. She has she has that really pretty one, like Dreamfire or something like that, or whatever his name is.
Oh, does she have Dreamfire? Dreamfire is a dope dragon, if I remember correctly. No, Dreamfire is Rhaena's. So Dreamfire's on Team Black.
That's Daemon's kid, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Like Sun's? Is it Sun? Is there a Sun something?
Sunfire, I believe is. Well, All right, I'm confused because this is saying Helena and her dragon Dreamfire. So
Okay, that's what I thought.
it's showing Lena and Helena.
Well, is
Princess Rhaena Targaryen and later Queen Helena Targaryen. Okay. Huh.
Wait, is that a spoiler?
Yep.
No, wait, because she has to have she's the queen. Like, she has to have a dragon already.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to look those things up anymore. I'm going to leave that be. Who knows? But okay, so are we going to see Sea Smoke again though? Is Laenor going to pop up? Like,
I could see
he's out there.
He doesn't come back in the book though. I feel like because the whole thing is like, I think no one even, they changed it in the show because no one says that he rode off on a boat. Like, the only thing they say is he rode off on a boat and then he got on a bigger boat and that guy slit his throat and threw him in the ocean because Daemon hired the guy to do it.
Damn it, Daemon.
So he might be dead. Honestly,
so we just didn't see that aspect.
Yeah, we didn't see that part.
The next scene was him getting killed. He's actually dead. All right. Well, I think it'd be dope if Sea Smoke popped up. I don't know.
There's not a lot of dragonless Targaryens
writers
at the moment.
Right. But, again, maybe you can just have the dragons flying solo with you next year. But I think Vermithor is going to join Team Black, and I think they showed him last season for a reason. I'm really looking forward because he's an ugly SOB. He's got he looks like he looks angry.
He's old. He's one of the older ones.
One of the older ones, and he's just barely smaller than Vhagar. So pretty freaking awesome dragon. So we'll see. I'm stoked though. I think again we've gotten word that there's going to be a ton of dragons in this season, so can't wait. Obviously, we're going to be covering every episode of this season. It's not going to be a week where we skip a couple because I have a pretty confident feeling that each episode going forward from here is going to be wild. So
is it 10 episodes?
It should be. I
the
think
first season was, right? Yeah.
I think that's Game of Thrones MO. I don't think they've ever had a season that wasn't 10 episodes except for season 7 and 8, which doesn't count.
Which was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Look what happened.
No!
It's 8?
It's 8.
Wow.
That
of course it is.
Sucks, bro. Don't steal 2 episodes from us.
It was over an hour, though, the first episode, right?
No,
a good
it's
chunk
50
of
minutes.
episode. Yeah.
The next episode is set to be 72 minutes, I think. This one was only 50 something, but
not bad.
Damn,
It's like 4 movies.
It is. I mean, it's still a lot. I'm greedy. I want to get 10 of this thing.
I want
This is
another
freaking
movie.
Awesome. Right.
We all do.
Give me another. No, next episode's 54 minutes too. I don't know what the hell I'm thinking of, but
it's like 3-4 seasons, right? This obviously isn't the final season.
no, the season 3 has been confirmed. It's been greenlit. Season 3 is coming. I think it's the final season. Don't quote me on that. I don't know. I'm starting to lose
That would make
confidence
sense, though,
in everything.
because if it's just the Dance of the Dragons, I feel like 3 seasons is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is. It's been renewed. It's been renewed. So, yeah, we'll continue to cover this. But we are happy to be back in Westeros. So, thank you as always for everybody out there joining us here today. We'll continue to bring you the heat as far as coverage goes. Thank you to my co-hosts Jeremy and Caleb. And make sure, again, tune in, follow us on socials. As I said before, we hit 5K on TikTok, which is awesome. So thank you guys. We appreciate it. We're happy to have you. Welcome aboard. We'll see you next time on Why So Sidious, a nerd podcast.